All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you guys are. Welcome to the TheRumLab channel here at Zavvy.co. Super excited to talk about Rum, especially with two good friends of mine. Really quickly, as I just go through the presentation, if you're joining us for the first time, you'll see to the right side, there's a chat box. And then you'll have, if you have any questions during the event, you can ask them below or you can put them on the right. We'll be answering questions during the event. Make sure if you can take a second, share the event so we can bring as many people as possible here. We're talking, and today's presentation should be 30-40 minutes. I don't know. They say Dan talks a lot, so we'll figure this out. And then and we'll take it from there. Today's presentation, right? Our main topic is 6 trendy rums in the US market. And our two good friends here, or our two guests, are here Dan Silva, who's here, and then we'll also have from the corner here, dun, 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 Jay Cocorullo from Society. And then, so we wanted to have this conversation basically about 6 rums that seem to be very trendy at this moment. And we have different point of view, right? And we all live at different areas. I live on the West Coast. Dan lives in Boston. And Jay, can you share your home address so people can get to your house today?
Yeah, that's no problem. You guys can come over. Windermere, Florida. Come on down. Orlando area.
So we're talking about a couple rums that we want to talk. 6 rums that we believe that are trendy at this moment. How should we start this? I think Dan it's the first time Dan is joining us for the first time, and he should break the ice.
I think so.
I always got to throw it to the lawyer to start the conversation.
We figure then you'll talk for 35 minutes, and then we won't have to say too much.
Be careful what you wish for.
I do have something I should I'm like ding 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 ding.
Give me a little kitchen timer maybe. All right, well, good evening everyone. From finally the weather turned in Boston, so it's about like 80 degrees all day today, so that was nice. I'm Dan Silva. I wear many hats. I'm a lawyer by day in Boston, and I am one of the admins for the Boston Rum Social Club, which is a subsidiary of the Rum Social Club. I'm also, through the Boston Rum Social Club, one of the members of the Rum Consumer Alliance. And as of last week, I am, because I like to punish myself and work multiple jobs, I am a part-time brand representative for Rolling Fork Rum out of Indiana, Kentucky, in that area, hoping to kind of help them out up here. So
congratulations.
I'm finally in the industry. It's been 10 years of collecting bottles. I'm finally in the industry, so all hell's going to break loose. So that being said, that's a quick intro for me.
So Dan,
do you guys want me to just start off with my first pick or do both of them?
No, let's start with one. We should all start with one pick right now. And you mentioned, so you're working with in my opinion, I don't know if you're going to talk about them, but they're trending. I'm seeing on social media a lot of the Rolling Forks.
Yes. I was going to start off with them, but because you just said that, I'm going to let the anticipation linger and build up a little bit, so that way we can really get into it, the excitement once I get there. All right. So the first one that I am going to pick, sadly, is not available in Massachusetts yet that I've seen on the stores, but I have had it. I've gone down to Florida a few times this year. I've been with Daniele down at Exotico, and the Holmes Key Exotico blend is something that I hope is a trend. Oh, Jay, you are beautiful. Thank you. Jay has a bottle, or a sample bottle.
I have a sample bottle.
So for people that don't know, I'm not as cool as you. I did not get a sample bottle, but Daniele let me try it. So So for those that don't know, this is a blend of Barbados, Martinique, and Venezuela. It's one of the I don't want to say it's like an entry point, but for Holmes Key's line, it's a blend that is longer sustainable for production purposes when you have a blend of those kinds of components. And I know that was Eric's direction for that. And he and I had talked a lot over the years. And I say this basically to every brand that I talk to about trying to have a sustainable product on the shelf. What I've seen in the last few years, I wouldn't call it trendy, but I see a lot of premiumization in rum. I see a lot of single casts and high esters and high proofs. And with that comes high price points because these are exclusive and delicious and amazing products. I've always had this innate fear about going too far in that direction because I feel like we need to refocus on getting new consumers in rum. And something like the Holmes Key Exotico blend is something that I love to see. It is a well-crafted, well-done, flavorful blend that is a reasonable price point for a bar to bring in, for on-premise, and for new people to try it. Daniele's program down there, when you order a cocktail, it says Holmes Key Exotico blend, and that's what's in it. So somebody who maybe is unfamiliar with it, they're going to order a cocktail, they're going to try that, and you're going to get the nuances between, you get the molasses and you get the sugarcane notes and you get all those, they interplay with one another beautifully. So maybe they start asking questions, and then you've got a new rum consumer who's very curious about rum in general, because the goal is to build a sustainable gathering and following for rum to keep it and carry it in the future, to keep growing. And I see blends and bottles like this as being integral in that. Bars have a tough time, at least in Boston, in the bars that I've talked to, they have a tough time bringing in a lot of products, and it is difficult, and it is a difficult market in some areas of the country to justify carrying a certain product for a niche market. And so the goal for me, for my club, for all the organizations that I'm part of, is to try to bring in new people so we can continue to grow the category. And so the reason I picked the Holmes Key Exotico blend as being something trendy is because you do see that. You see other brands like Denizen with their blends, Banks 5. So it's something that I think is important for me when I go out and I do tastings or I host events. My hope is that the composition of the crowd is, maybe 30 or 40% new rum drinkers or novice, or maybe they never had a drop in their life. And so with that, there's a group of bottles that I'd bring. I would go with high ester, I'd go with the single cast, I'd go with the rare and limiteds, but I'd also bring in the blends that are more reasonable and approachable for people to get into, because you have to start somewhere. And I think something like that, where Eric Key did a great job on that blend, that he can continue to produce it for years and years and years to come, that it can get on the shelves at bars, that it can stay on the shelves at liquor stores. I think that is something where he's putting down roots in that area, and I think that's great for him, and that's great for the category as a whole. So sadly, I don't have a bottle of it, but that is my first pick for trendy rums.
But Jay has a bottle. He can quickly tell us a little bit on the Jay. Help the novato here. Help the novato guy here. You're in mute, Jay.
Sorry, I try to.
We're not in that point of the live stream that we can read lips. Not yet.
We've been doing this for like years now. Why can't we read lips? No, it's really nice. On the nose, you get a little of the agricole and a lot of the molasses. It's light, it's bright. I will say that I was fortunate enough to get an early bottle back in November, right when it was starting to hit the market. And I took it to a Florida Gator tailgate and made mojitos for everyone out of it. And it was like blowing people away. So it definitely is one of those that is at a good cost and a good price point and makes a delicious cocktail. I know that Eric was also like built it as a daiquiri rum, and it's not the same as like a Havana Club 3 type of thing, but it shines so brightly And I really enjoy it. So it's a good pick, Dan.
What's the price point again?
I'll excuse the fact. So I was just going to make a joke. I'll excuse the fact that you took it to a Florida Gators tailgate.
Oh, nice.
I'm a Hurricanes guy.
Oh, Dan. I thought we were friends.
I still love you, Jay. I
think it's like $40 on the shelf, right? I think that's around where the price point is sitting right now.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Next, Jade, you go next.
You want me to go next? Well,
yeah, you don't have to take every single expression that we talk about. You don't have to take a bottle and start drinking it. Okay, I saw you already excited, so no wonder you asked us this morning, like, what are you drinking? And now it's gonna be 9 rums.
I have a lot. I have to go. So, I took a similar approach to Dan, and not so much the blend, but something new and at a great price point in my mind. And so this is just coming out this month, or maybe last month, but it's the new Rum JM Terroir Volcanique. I probably said that wrong because I don't speak French, but it is it's a 3-year rum agricole. It in the US market, it is looking to replace the VO from JM. So similar sort of theory on the aging. But I actually listen. If you guys haven't listened to the latest Rumcast, shout out to John and Will. But they actually interviewed Ben Jones, and he talked about this sort of close to the beginning. So I picked it before I heard him talk about it, but it was great because he talked about how they are harvesting the cane off the side of the volcano, and hence the name. And they're aging it actually in 2 different barrels. One with a intense toast because they have their own cooperage on site, and one with an extreme toast, or the extreme toast is what they're calling it. But I guess it's a char level like off the charts from our friends in the non-rum world who are char barrels. So you get a great, I won't call it, like I hesitate to use the word smokiness because then you think of like a peated scotch, and it's not like that. But you do get like a little charcoal on the nose and on the finish. But in between, it's very bright, it's very light. I wrote down some tasting notes. Dan's gonna make fun of me, but that's fine. I got some vanilla and like really dry, like the way your mouth feels after you eat like really dried like peanuts. It's not a peanut taste, but it really like dries you out, and it's like white pepper and honey is what I got. But then the finish was like charcoal and anise, and that's where sort of like you get the volcano feels with that. So it's just hitting the. I think it's just hitting the market. So maybe I'm ahead of the trend curve since it hasn't quite got there yet. But we'll call it trendy because I think that it's going to be one that an everyday agricole person. And I find that right as we're bringing new people to rum, Dan and Fede, with all that you do throughout the country, I think an unaged agricole can be a little like, ooh, what is this? But a long-aged agricole, you lose almost a lot of what makes an agricole great. And this sits really nicely in between. So it's a good like entry level to the agricole or cane juice distillate. So there you go. My pick, number 1, Tawab on it.
When I think about like an agricole rum, right? I have like 2 parts of it, but when I think about Martinique agricole rum, I always get from the white rum or clear rums a lot of earthiness, right? A lot of grass, and then you go to the aged ones, and then that level already kind of fades away. So I'm interested in what you said right now, which is like this is a blend. This is almost like in between. I wonder if you're also getting a little bit of that earthiness still.
You definitely do. It's not hitting it all, but it doesn't smack you in the face like a Con Bleu or something like that. That's a great unaged agricole, our Pierre Labatt 59, which is a fantastic agricole rum. I think it's off-putting for some because you get that almost lawnmower experience for those jumping into it. But this one is a great in between for sure.
All right. Cheers on that one.
Cheers on that one.
Okay. So on my pick, I'm gonna go. So this is. So I gotta say, I don't go out that much to bars to see what's happening in trendy. My perspective of trendy is what I see on social media and what I see at my festivals. So this one, I'm gonna focus on the Chicago Rum Festival. This is what I saw happening at the Chicago Rum Festival. Of course, you have amazing brands like Spur Bomb that had a big side. The Volcanic was where they launched. Happened that weekend of the Chicago Rum Festival. Then you have like Plantation Rum with different expressions, Worthy Park, and so these are like stellar brands. But here are some booths that came to the Rum Festival, and some of the expressions caught my attention. And I actually had three. I'm gonna start with one, of course. And then we'll take it from there. All right. So I got a new toy. So I'm going to show my toy. Here it is, the rotating bottle. So I bought this a while ago. I'm like, I got to find a place to find it. But Jay is like all completely, he's against technology. So it's all about AI and manual things. So here it is. It's the Bacardi Ocho, and then they with the rye cast. What I know, what I read, what I've seen. First of all, this is interesting information. A Bacardi limited edition 5-year cast. So they're gonna do starting in 2025, they're gonna release one expression per year. And so this is the second expression that they release as the Bacardi Ocho Rum Rye Cast Finish. Something that's super interesting. The project was started with a friend of the master blend at that point, the master blender, who was Joe Gomez from Puerto Rico. And they gave the opportunity. He retired. A new master blender came in for Bacardi, who's Troy Arquiza. He's from the Philippines. And then and this is basically he came in. This is his first project as the global master blender for Bacardi. He was already in Bacardi. He worked at different positions and different roles globally. So, of course, we all know that bourbon and rye are super hot in the market. There's single casks that are being have a lot of interest. But the Bacardi Ocho here, what I has to say is that it's a blend of aged rum from 8 to 12 years in American oak barrels with an additional finish in Kentucky rye cask. They don't share how many years. Actually, recently like 30 minutes ago, they shared Bacardi shared more information with me, but I wasn't able to read it. But something that's interesting is that when you put an ocho, a number in a rum that's made in Puerto Rico, by law, it has to be the youngest rum in that bottle, right? So that's a very interesting fact. It's 45 ABV, and here I'm gonna give you some of my points of view, sensorial points of view, right? And then I want to be very clear. We all have different ways to experience and talk about rum, especially if you're having it neat, you're having it with ice, you're adding a little bit of water. Or have you let it outside? Have you left it breathe for a little bit too? It's not necessarily like wine, but certainly there's different moments that rum can be enjoyed. And here I am talking about my sensorial experience with a neat pour. So and actually, when I read about rye, I brought out some bottles that I have of different whiskeys that I have. I have a Canadian whiskey. I do have some different bourbons, different ryes. Actually, I only have one bottle, the Bullet Rye. And then, but the one that was the closest actually when I'm like, there has to be some similarity with whiskey. They were looking for something that has to do with whiskey. So the Canadian Seagram Canadian VO was actually the one they're like, oh, interesting. This actually has a little bit of the same smell. So you get my opinion. This is what I wrote when I took notes. It has molasses, vanilla, maple sugar, sweetness, a hint of spiciness. And I did get all those. It's not that I saw it online. I wrote it. I shared it on a piece of paper to share it. Actually shares more things. On the palate, on my opinion, it's actually very soft and dry. Then you have a little bit of caramel. Then you get a little bit of the spiciness from the peppers. And you get a little bit of smokiness. Actually, I'm going to start drinking to remember it, just to make sure that my notes are correct. Yep.
You did good?
It's delicious, man. It's delicious.
I haven't tried it yet, but I would give it a shot. I'll never not give something a shot.
Yeah. And then
is this the first, Fede, do you know, is this the first one that they're doing this with the Ocho, or no?
No, the first one was a sherry.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And once again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that this is my favorite rums. I'm just pointing out that these were rums that people were talking about at the Chicago Rum Festival, right? It could be because they're Bacardi doesn't usually participate at my rum festival, and they went to the Chicago Rum Festival, and they were there with the. They put a lot of focus on the Bacardi 8 line, but we're in the Midwest, right? We're in right next to Louisville. So this is all the Midwest is the capital of, in my opinion, they are the ambassadors of American whiskey.
Yeah.
And then and that's it basically. And most I think what I like about this rum is that it's only $29.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that there's I will say that I appreciate that Bacardi. I don't think they had a booth down in Miami, but the new is he the blender or the distiller? The gentleman that did the presentation.
That was for the global master blender. Yep.
Yeah. Like I am happy to see them starting to engage with the I'll go with rum nerd community, right?
Yeah. All right. So I'm stepping down. Dan, we're back to you. The pressure's on you.
Well, so I was quiet on that because some of the things you said transition into mine. So
do you want to know what's funny, Dan? Do you want to know what's funny, Dan? It transitions into mine too. What Fede said. So it's perfect.
You told me to go first, so I'm gonna steal your thunder.
That's fine.
So I see a product like that, and I think it's awesome to see such a big brand come out with kind of, let's do a cast finish. And rye isn't something that's, people jump to. I mean, we've seen some brands do it, but rye finished rums are always interesting to me because rye is typically like a spicier grain. I'm a big bourbon rye. I drink everything, but bourbon and rye. I was in Kentucky last week doing barrel picks of bourbon and rye, and so rye kind of with that spiciness adds this like eucalyptus and kind of minty note that balances out with the sugarcane notes that you get, or the molasses notes and vanillas and the caramels. It's a perfect combination, I think, in my mind, if you can do it right. But in that regard, it's nice to see brands doing finishing like that. I think we're all at a point where, although I don't think we've tapped like the full potential of flavor in spirits, but what you're seeing is this kind of push towards in bourbon and whiskey. You're seeing a lot of finishes going on with oddball casks and things like that. You're starting to see it a little bit more with rum, so it's definitely on trend. And it's nice to see because you're trying to coax out different flavors. And part of my trip last week was to go to Kentucky Bourbon Barrel and look at barrels that were, ex-port, ex-Madeira, cognac, Pinot de Chiron, all these different wines and spirits that can potentially add new flavors to rum. And so it's something definitely to look forward to. We've seen Foursquare put out some wonderful cast finishes over the years, and even that new Touchstone was incredible. But it's something that I'm always excited about because it's new, it's innovative, and it's not necessarily innovative in technique of just kind of putting it into a finishing cast, but you have to really pay attention to the distillate. What does it taste like coming out of the bourbon barrel, and what could that finishing cask do? It could be a disaster, it could be genius, who knows. But for my next pick, it's a shameless self-promotion in that sense, but I picked it for two reasons. So you can get this on Sealbox online. It's the Rolling Fork Spirits, the 5-year Venezuela, finished in a Weller cask. For those that aren't familiar with bourbon, Weller's one of the more sought after bourbons out there. Pretty much hits the shelf and disappears. People go nuts for it, sell their firstborns, mortgage their houses, all of that. So it's the reason I pick it is threefold. One, self-promotion, as I'm representing these guys. Jordan and Turner are the owners. They are incredible. The more that I've talked with Jordan, to talk about finishes and casts and blends that they're working on, the more excited I get about what's to come for them. So I'm happy to kind of hit the ground with them and see what we can do. Their warehouse was loaded with gems and things that you might not even be aware of, and stuff that I don't really want to say on here, just because I'm not sure when they're ready to talk about it. But the reason I picked the Venezuela rolling forecast is two reasons: independent bottlers and different origins or countries of origin coming out to market, not under the typical brand names. So you're getting off profile, I guess is what we'd call it. Independent bottlers, you're seeing an influx of them lately because as rum nerds grow and develop, we have a demand for rums and different flavors, different casts, different marks, different countries. So there's people going out there and just doing it on their own and bottling it and getting it on their own and bringing it in the country and creating businesses out of it. I mean, Homeskey is one of them. Jay down in Florida, you guys have Down Island Spirits, and I'm familiar with them because they're now distributed up here. Now, my friends John and Lori own Raising Glasses, and Raising Glasses has its own independent bottling where they have a Barbados, a Trinidad, a Guyana, then a blend. They've got some really insane things coming very, very soon. So keep an eye out. Even countries that you didn't think were putting out good stuff or interesting things. Very off profile, different parts of the world that we haven't seen yet. So I'm very excited for what John and Lori are going to be doing soon. Independent bottlers is the trend, at least the first reason for this. The other reason being coming from Venezuela. I mean, typically we have a couple of brands that are dominant in the market from Venezuela, and they have their house profile, and that's fine. That's they do very well. But when you get something like an independent bottler taking just a 5-year Venezuela, and again, this is I think $45-$50 for a cash strength 5-year Venezuela. You're talking 110.2 proof. Finished in a prolific bourbon cask. So again, it kind of goes back to how do we get new consumers in here? Maybe a bourbon drinker's tired of chasing Weller and they can't find it. So they find something like this that was finished in a Weller cask. They get intrigued, they buy it, they like it. And now you got a rum fan. It's all about getting new people to the market to stay in the category. But when you try something like this, I was kind of blown away. So obviously I have a lot of Rolling Fork now in my collection, and
you can
like
you can be kind and send some to Jay and I. We'll give you our. So Jay already gave his address online, so I would.
Hey, I'm hoping to hit the road for these guys. So I might be with you. I might be working a rum fest. Who knows?
Work a rum fest. We love a good happy hour down here at the Florida Rum Society. So
absolutely. I've already got ideas for Florida, so don't worry about it. If they'll let me go down there. I don't know.
He knows someone. He knows someone.
I know a person or two that can help.
Yeah, I've got a couple people. I'll have your people call my people, and my people will call your people, and we'll link up. All right. So when I get something like this, aside from the standard labels that you're thinking about, I mean, I get like vanilla and caramel, and then like this dusted cocoa and this like kind of a like coconut husk flavor on this. I've been drinking it on the rocks, neat. I had some last week, and so it's very fresh in my mind. But it's just mind blowing to me when I first got it because of all the other rolling forks that I have. I mean, their sustainability is their 8, 9 year, and 10 year four squares that they finish in a number of different casks. And you name it, they're trying it. But they have incredible blends from El Salvador with port and sherry in the blend. You've got like wildly advanced aged Worthy Parks, 14, 15 years, Fiji 17 years, Guyana Port Morant 19 years, all single cask strength, all very reasonably priced actually, and they're all incredible. And as I go through this pack of bottles that I have, I keep coming back to this 5 year Venezuela. It just kind of looks innocent there next to all these behemoths, and it just packs this flavor, this profile that just keeps pulling me back. And that's what fascinates me, because you think of Venezuela, you don't necessarily think of this kind of flavor profile necessarily because of the Solera methods that are used, the cast finishes that they use, and so it's different. And so I try this, and I'm kind of blown away, and I'm looking for it more and more as I go through. And I think what's fascinating about it is we still haven't tapped the full potential of where we can get rum from. You see something like this out of Venezuela, you think about South Africa with what Holmes Key did. Southeast Asia is going to, I think, make a splash in the next year or two, with things coming out of Thailand or Laos. There's a lot that's kind of brewing in that area, or being distilled in that area, not brewing. But I think that once people kind of see and know the potential, the full breadth of what rum can be from different countries, different, call it terroir, techniques, history, whatever, that's just good for the category as a whole. And so something like this kind of represents where I see a couple more paths forward, with independent bottlers basically going out on their own and taking the charge and bringing in the things that they want to try, which can speak not only to new drinkers, but rum drinkers that want to try something different. And you're seeing different countries of origin kind of be represented in that realm. That kind of mind-blowing in terms of what's out there. So it's very exciting, and I hope it continues, and I hope I have a hand in it continuing, because I'm part of it now. So cheers.
It's all on you.
Cheers.
It's all on you, Dan.
I've got broad shoulders. I can handle the world. It's fine.
Well, I appreciate Dan saying all those things, because I'm my second pick is actually, well, I have 4 of them here, but same sort of conversation that independent bottlers, while really prevalent in Europe, for sure there's a lot less, but it's starting to grow. And the reason why I picked this one is because in Miami there was a lot of buzz, and he's doing great stuff. And the founder of the company, lives right here in Orlando. I can give you his address too. You can come visit him. But it's Grander. So Grander Rum out of Panama, which is a fantastic. The rum by itself that he's aging, that he has out there. He does an 8 and a 12 and some special release stuff. Is really, really great. He went down to Panama and said, I have this the way that I want it to be. No additives, aged for a certain amount of time, things that maybe aren't always done down in Panama. And he being from the, I don't think he worked there, but he's from the Kentucky area. So
I thought Dan lived in Kentucky.
No, Dan doesn't live in Kentucky. Oh no, Dan lives in Orlando, but he was in Kentucky at some point in his life. So Dan Duffner.
Oh, yeah. He's from Kentucky.
But being that he's here in Florida, we have partnered with him on a lot of picks, actually 5. The one that I grabbed that I was sipping is agave, because, and someone said it at the beginning that we don't see a lot of agave, but this rum in particular, I really have fallen in love with. I've gone through a few bottles. And it's a 12-year rum and then 11 months in the agave, which I feel like 12 months would have been too long, but 10 months would have been too short. I mean, how does that work? But it really, the tequila is not ridiculously overpowering, but it's enough that it's like it gives almost those agricole feels, which is weird because I know, right? But it's like that it gives it that a little bit of grassiness. I wrote down some stuff. I get agricole and caramel on the nose, and then the finish is where you feel the tequila, but not in the middle. When this one first came out, a lot of people were like, "Ooh, the tequila is gonna like grab the rum, and you're not gonna know it's rum anymore." But this, I think, marries that very, very well. And I'm not a big tequila guy in general, but I'll make a margarita with, I mean, it's not that different than a Mai Tai when it comes down to it, right? But I'll make a margarita out of this rum, and it gives you those similar feels with a little bit of extra oak, a little bit of extra like brown sugar caramel type notes. It's really quite phenomenal. But as Dan was saying, and then Fede too, with your rye pick, like he's doing some great crazy stuff. I have a Speyside here, which also really good. Just enough of the hints of and this one's a 14-year.
What's Speyside?
Speyside is Scotch, but not like peaty Scotch, like a more, I don't know. Dan maybe can tell better because I don't know Scotch very well.
Malt. It's non-peated. Well, most of the time it's non-peated. There could be somebody that does it. I'm not.
This one's not peated.
No. I'm just saying for distilleries and Speyside, but it's more like honeyed and vanillas and things like that.
And the crazy thing is we were talking about rye.
Yeah.
And we did a rye. He's been doing rye since really early on. But the gem is the toasted, and so if you can ever grab a toasted grander, this is a phenomenal experience that really knocks it out of the park in the toasted barrel. So yeah, if you can find grander, and he is continuing to grow. I don't know if he's out on your West Coast stuff, Fede, but for sure all the East Coast stuff I know that he makes it too. So
he has great distribution. I think Dan has done a great job. It's really because he works with Don Pancho, and when at the very beginning, I was like, okay, you. I have this stigma of like Don Pancho has like this way of doing rums that there's not a lot of clarity there, in my opinion, because it could be miseducation from my end, misinformation. And Dan was explaining like, no, I went there and I was very strict on how I wanted things. The good thing is that Don Pancho has a lot of good rum from one age to many years age, and we both came to an agreement to do for him to respect the way I wanted to do rum, the way he wants to do rum. So it's great.
Yeah, if anyone ever has a chance to go to one of Dan's done a number of sessions and classes and education seminars for the Florida Rum Society for sure. But if anyone has a chance to talk with him, like it's a great story how he got it started, and he's really a one-man show, him and his wife. Making things happen for this, and it's great to have this non-additive spirit coming out of Panama because it can show what like great rums come from everywhere. The one thing I was going to mention, which I don't have a bottle of, and it just came out in Gleaston, Florida. It just came out 2 days ago. Yesterday. It just came out yesterday. Is he did a port finish that at least two different people in Miami told me it was the best rum that they tasted in the entire show. So that's saying something. So if you can find I don't have one yet, and it's being spread around. It's only one barrel, I think, being spread around the country. So if you can,
wait, he had that at the Miami Rum Congress.
Yeah, it was probably all gone by the time you got there. But
it was good.
I gotta start early.
Yeah, I know, right? But if you can find a grander port cast, that was one of the darlings of the Miami Rum Congress in February. So That's going to be a hot ticket, and I know I've already had people reaching out to me if they can find it. I know that one of my local stores got like 6 bottles or something ridiculously low. So, there you go.
Yeah, I can be hit or miss on port cask finishes, and that was one of the better ones that I tried. He used some really good port casks to do that.
I agree 100% with you, my friend.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so the next rum I chose. Put
it on the spinning thing.
Spinning time, disco party. Dun, dun, dun. All right. It's the Black Tot Finest Caribbean. And then here it is. All right.
I told Mitch I was going to give him a shout out on this, so shout out to Mitch.
Shout out to Mitch.
All right. So interesting information that actually Mitch shared with this morning is that so Black Tot, when they launched, they instead of going, okay, like let's do this mid-tier rum, they started with a very expensive rum, which is called the Last Consignment, which starts at 1900, and that's how basically they launched a couple of years ago. Then they went like, oh, let's do a rum that's mid-tier, and that's when they started launching the. Here it was called the Master Blends.
Master Blends.
Correct. And then, which is only 6,000 bottles that they do per expressions that they release every other year. And then, but then they wanted to have a rum that is a little bit more mainstream for rum aficionados. And then here they went with a rum that would be around $69 or $60. And it's the Finest Caribbean Black Tot rum, which is a blend of 3 rums, Barbados, Guyana, and Jamaica. This is their number one SKU and their number one seller, certainly, I imagine, because of the price point too. It's the most accessible one. And then you got to really think about to spend $1,900 for a bottle. You can only if you're Jay, you can do this. But
yeah. Exactly.
Constantly.
You caught me. You caught me, Fede.
So yeah. So I'm gonna share a little bit of my my sensorial experience. Sensorial. So, and this is based on these are my notes based on drinking it neat. So you do get a soft punch of Jamaican rum. And that's something that predominates every time you have a blend and you have some Jamaican rum. They're always they end up being like the leader on that blend. That happens a lot. And but you do get cut pineapple pieces, but not completely fresh. You cut them and you let them in the kitchen outdoors, and you came back an hour later and you smell them and they're a little bit drier, and you get that smell, which is super cool. So and you get more of sweet fruits. Yes, you do get cooked brown sugar like on a dessert, and you get a little bit of you get some wood. When I smelled it at first, I was like, oh, this is actually super interesting. This I like sweet rums to be very transparent. That's why when Dan was talking about Venezuelan rum in general, for me, Venezuelans are also sweet. Many of them. Not all of the expressions. So I'm a big fan of Venezuelan rum. And so here I am with trying this one. And I'm like, oh, this is very good. So on the palate, you get, I'm going to do the sacrifice of keep on drinking.
I'll join you.
2 is better than 1. 3 is better than 1. There you go. So, so on the taste, right, you first get like this oily sense to it, and that sweet sensation that also like that sweet, and then little by little fades away and becomes dry. And then the pepper predominates, wood predominates, maybe some bitter chocolate, and all spices. But for me, it's the pepper is pretty dominant in the wood. And then as you wait for it, which is we call like our finish, it stays dry, and then it's like basically eating a high content cacao that stays there, stick to your tongue for a while, and you're like, and then so it's good. And actually, I didn't share this. In the Bacardi 8, it was very woody too. It was very woody. All right, so yeah, that's my opinion of this the Black Tut. It was I was super happy they participated. Another brand that was super popular was of course, the Hampton. They released it. They presented the 8 March for the first time in Chicago, and they're gonna be at the New York Rum Festival now in June 10th. And that was super, like, that was a huge talk in the event. I don't have a bottle of Hampton, unfortunately, and so I could not present something that I don't have today. All right, Dan, it's up to you, but you got 5 minutes.
5 minutes for what?
No, I think we should. Do you guys have more rums or no?
I have one more I can mention.
We all have.
All right, I'm gonna put Jay. I'm gonna put Jay on, and then Dan, if you think about another one, let us know.
I think I'm gonna steal Fede's like runner up, but I know, right? I will tell a quick story, and it'll be 4 minutes. But 2 to 3 years ago, someone was like, "Hey, have you had St. James?" And I had it, and I was like, "Nah, it's fine." But in the last year, they have upped their game in the floor, and I think it's in the U.S. market. So great stuff was going to France all the time, it seemed. And I was trying like still strength stuff. Like they have some amazing bottles. Those aren't coming here, but some of the stuff that they're starting to get in the market, like this VSOP, really, really digging from St. James. So I'm happy to see that they're bringing more expressions to the U.S. market. So there you go. That's my 3 minutes.
Their president is actually their master blender is the president of the AOC right now. And we have a great live stream on Savvy that we did 2 years ago. It talks about all in depth about their history, their bottles, why their bottle is the same since they launched, basically. And their story is great. And you're right, Jay. They're stepping up their game in the U.S. market. They found a good importer, a good distributor, and it's called La Martinique. There are two companies actually. They own also the Paz Agricole. And
awesome.
So I think they're doing a phenomenal job. And that's how you do what you're doing right now, where you talked about them. It's exactly what a brand like them needs, because the phenomenal rums are coming out from Martinique, as we all know. All right, Dan, come on, give us something.
I'm just going back to Old Faithful. I want to give a shout out to Zan at Worthy Park because he's my boy. But their cask program is incredible, so keep an eye out for those. I actually had the pleasure of picking a 5-year bourbon, 2-year cognac cask from them, and so. But what I do want to talk about, because I don't know what their cask program is looking like in the future in terms of what's available or whatnot, I would just say keep an eye out for it. Miami Rum Congress, probably the standout for me was actually Clermont and their private cask selection. They had some cask finishes with some of their agricole. And I can't recall if it was a brandy finish or a grappa finish.
The grappa is what blew me away.
Do you remember what the other one was? I thought it was brandy.
I think you're right on the brandy.
It was a long day, so it's possible I'm wrong.
I
just remember
with a lot of rum. Right?
They also are doing a tequila finish too in that group. So
no, I woke up like super early that day and hit the gym while everyone was setting up and everything. It was just a long, like, I'm an idiot, but it is what it is.
No, you did right.
I try. The brandy finish, I remember just having this like rich, dark chocolate to this like dusty butterscotch kind of thing, and I just remember being blown away by it. And I know that particular finish isn't going to make its way up here. I think we just got some Oloroso PX and tequila finished Clement in Massachusetts.
If I find a brandy, I'll get it for you. Oh wait, Dan's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. I'll be back. I'll help in the middle. I'll jump in really quickly. I do have another rum to talk about.
I don't know where I went.
You're back.
You're back then. All right.
Oh, I got a phone call. That's what happened. So it ties into the finishing aspect of it. So when you take some agricoles like Clement and how gorgeous they are, and then you're adding them into these obscure casts you don't typically see in finishing, the flavors that they were able to get out of them were insane. And so I'm really looking forward to what they're doing. And shout out to everyone at Spirit Bomb because I love you all.
They love you too, Dan.
I know. I am a lovable guy, Jay. I mean, it's
you've convinced me.
Exactly. And as you said, the green brings out your blue eyes.
They are gorgeous. I know. Thank you.
All right. So another rum that I have that's caught my attention that I thought at one point they were going to completely disappear. I met them first at the Miami Rum Renaissance years ago, which is done by Robert Burr. And then also is Bayou Rum from Louisiana. And actually the master distiller there was a great friend, and he's still alive. He's a good friend. And then Stoli, the vodka company, basically Stoli USA bought the company, and I think he just left for XYZ reason. And basically I think Stoli just like neutralized the project. They were trying to focus on promoting alligators or something like that. Of course, Louisiana is known for alligators, but the direction was not there, in my opinion. And now they brought a new team recently for the last year and a half, and they're bringing a lot more. 2 years or 3 years, they brought out they improved their game. And so they have 2 bottles that are super interesting. They actually have 4 bottles. They have some select single cast, but that I have are the Bayou Rum XO, which is a celebration for the Mardi Gras. And so here we have to think about number one, or embrace that this is 100% American rum. So everything, all the molasses, the harvest, everything comes from the U.S. And it's distilled in copper pot still using molasses that's sourced in local sugarcane farm and mill in southern Louisiana. So supposedly it's one of the still operating oldest sugar companies in the country. Asian ex-bourbon barrels to up to 5 years and finished in 1 extra in Spanish Oloroso Pedro Jimenez barrels. So when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a sweet rum. Why are people talking about this at the Chicago Rum Festival? But their booth was super busy all the time. They also, this is like actually one of the categories, or this is one of their expressions that growing up the most. Already in the last 4 months, they've grown. They've done more 11% over the whole year of 2022. All right, and then on smell, on the nose, you get some sweet notes like when you get from Diplomatico as well. And I thought, oh, it's gonna be very similar to like when I think about Oloroso, for something that's granulating to my mind is one of the first brand that put a lot of money in promoting the Pedro Jimenez was Zacapa, right? So I'm like immediately, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a sweeter rum. And then you do get some prunes, and of course, this is super interesting. I do get wood, and for me, it's like the wood that you get is when you go inside a warehouse, an aging warehouse, and you get all that smell from all that damp wood, everything that's happening there, right? But you get that strong kick of wood, and that's how I feel. And then you get some dry dark fruits on the palate. I'm gonna drink again. So it's a blend of something that slightly butter, but it's very watery, and then little by little it becomes dry, citric and peppery, and then the finish is super long. The finish, like I remember, and then basically it's extremely dry, like like almost putting your tongue to a piece of wood. But you still here. These are notes actually. This part, that's where I left it there. But they say that you have some sense of honey, black pepper, and sherry. And you could. I just opened up a bottle of Pedro Jimenez, and I'm like, oh, let me see the sherryness, and I was not getting that when I was doing it. So this bottle's for $90 right now in the market.
90, got it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they're coming back. I mean, it's great to see American-made rums continue to emerge. Right, we all know, of course, Privateer and Richland and Montagna out west there, right? But I like to see that they're continuing to grow.
100%. So, is it a rum that I'll buy? I think so. I do think so. I do think if I'm gonna promote like an American rum, I'll be certainly thinking about that. This is a nice, proper, good aged rum. And that's it. I'll leave it there.
Awesome. All right.
So I don't know if Jay was expecting that I was gonna talk about Bacardi, that I was gonna talk about maybe Black Tot, but certainly not Bayou rum.
I didn't think Bayou would show up, but hey,
Yeah. I told you that I was gonna maybe talk about St. James rum because
I stole it from you.
No, you didn't. I changed my mind. This is the biologic rum.
That one's a great one.
It is a great one.
I need a bottle of that one. I need a bottle of that one.
So it's limited editions that they do. And then this one is actually one of those rums that sells out really quickly for them.
Yeah. I know. Awesome. This is super fun, Fede. Thank you for having Dan and myself. We always love hanging out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Dan will be better prepared for next time, showing us and then doing cocktails and flipping bottles in the air. No, I'm kidding.
Anytime you want that, I'll do it. If not, just find me on Instagram. That's where I'm doing it usually.
I do have some questions.
I'd love to make a 140 proof daiquiri.
I do have some questions for you. It's Rolling Forks. Are they sourcing their rum from Amsterdam? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you went mute or something.
You went mute. Or on purpose you went mute.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Mike, that's great. But then do they re-age again on the barrels that we all see in the photos or no?
So I'll backtrack a little bit. I don't know if they source everything from Amsterdam. I can't say that with certainty, but there is sourcing done from Amsterdam. It's a combination of several things. There's a transition that's going on where yes, they're bringing in things that are already aged, and they will continue to age it in Indiana, just outside of Kentucky. It's a gorgeous place if you ever want to go visit. By the way, I was blown away by it. So they are continuing to age it there and finish it in bourbon casks or rye casks or whatever. There's also an effort to bring in younger products and age it for longer in the area as well. And so it's kind of multifaceted at that point. So it's not just like they're...
Sorry.
There's an endeavor to kind of grow the footprint in terms of what they're able to do. There's different climates that we all know about. We know about continental and tropical, but what's it look like in the middle of North America? I don't know. So there is, there are efforts underway. Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's one of those things where, where can we take flavor in rum, and so there's a combination of everything. So I can't say there's any one thing going on. So where initially they had a couple of younger products that they put out, I think they had like a 4-year Jamaican, and then the aged four squares, and obviously the higher age worthy Parks and Fiji and all that, and they finish it for a number of years in their bourbon cask that they get because they're literally right outside of Kentucky. There is an effort to do more than just that, so it's I'm pretty excited based on what I saw.
All right, so Darren has a question here. So do you think there's any demand in the market for a US-based IB that specializes in American rum? What's an IB? I don't know.
Independent bottler.
Independent bottler.
So like someone that's an independent bottler sourcing stuff from American distilleries.
I'm not sure if there's a demand, but there may at some point be a need, because as Jay mentioned, some of the American brands, Privateer, Montagna, Bayou, Richland, I can name you like 8 more distilleries just in New England alone that make rum and stuff that you haven't heard of. Bully Boy, Wiggly Bridge, Boston Harbor Distillery, just off the top of my head. Tamworth, I think, did a rum up in New Hampshire. So
sorry, Dan.
I'm sorry.
No,
their ability to expand beyond the local region is tougher. I mean, when you're a smaller distiller. So if they ever produce something that they feel like they could sell to an independent bottler that wants to maybe do some more widespread distribution of like an off-profile cask or something that doesn't necessarily represent their house profile, which fine. I mean, I think that there could be a use for it to expand that reach. But there's probably a lot more rum distilleries in the country than we know of, and independent bottlers do help to get that name out there. So it would be useful at some point. But I think that the fact that there are so many rum distillers in America already says enough that there's an interest and there's a growing kind of incentive to keep going. And we'll see what happens.
It's interesting because I think, right, we think about independent bottlers that we know, right? Holmes Key, Velier, who are doing stuff from places that sometimes we can't get. The South African from Holmes Key is a great example, right? So he's creating that bridge for us. And at first you think, well, you're in America, but really we are like, when it comes to liquor specifically, we are like 50 individual countries because of all the things you have, the hoops you have to jump through to get your expression into other states, right? Even as something as simple as getting Georgia into like Richland into Florida isn't like a slam dunk, though. We're right next door. So there could be, if there was someone who was willing to make that investment and bridge that gap, at least until the laws change. Like that's an interesting concept for sure.
But then at the same time, you need some good quality of rum that people are going to enjoy and sip it, and enjoy sipping it. And that's why, for me, like the Bayou XO was like, oh, this is actually super interesting, right? And so I think you need more of that in general. Yeah, 100%. All right, so next agenda. So we have 2 live streams coming up on May 24th. Is Welcome to the Rare Spirit Society. There's a Q&A that's going to be happening, and then that's going to be at 12 o'clock. And then at 4 p.m. at that night is 126 years of history with Ron Santa Teresa with their U.S. Brand director. If you want to help Savvy or Patron, at least to a way or another, is if you want to help Savvy, there's 2 ways to do it. Is because you can do it through the Noble Cane or becoming a patron through Savvy. This is actually one of the cool swags you can get from Rum Clement, and there's many brands. Especially we got Florida Rum Society. And Jay, I did order mine. It's not here. I was gonna put it on, but I changed my mind and I put the Rum Clement.
I wanted to see you in an FRS shirt. That would have made me so happy. Next
So now
time.
we're gonna just have to schedule another live stream, and then that's it.
Done.
Maybe,
Done.
maybe Jay could send me one.
Go to noblecane.com. There's a promo code, TheRumLab, 20% off.
Jay, I thought we were close. I thought we were close.
I'll
It's
trade
fine.
you a shirt for one of those rolling fork bottles.
Maybe I'll come down and see you soon.
Perfect. I'll have a shirt waiting.
All right.
Next on the agenda, we got the New York Rum Festival, LA, San Francisco, and we already launched the Miami Rum Congress for 2024. And hope everybody can attend based on your capacity, of course. And that's it. No more rum o'clock. I think we answered all the questions today. That'll be it. Anything else? I'm okay about looking for another rum, Jay. If you still have energy. But if you guys are down for the night, we can
See
call
how
it.
many bottles I have sitting here.
We can call it the night. But I'm already drinking rum. It's like it's.
Listen, I'm an old man. I gotta get to bed.
All
right, but anyways, cheers, guys. Hope everybody had a
good having us.
Hope to see everybody again.
Sure.
All right. Adios. Cheers. Thank you, Florida Rum Society. Thank you, Boston. And adios, everyone.
Take care.
See ya.